Your inner critic sounds very convincing. It sounds like the truth, like wisdom, like the voice of reason protecting you from humiliation. Consider what it says. You're not strategic enough for this role. Everyone in the meeting knows more than you. They only promoted you because they needed to fill the position. It's just a matter of time before you mess up big enough that they see the real you. Imagine a leader who believes these thoughts are facts instead of what they actually are, stories. Today, I'm going to show you how to use the receive, perceive, respond method, not just for external leadership challenges, but for the most important leadership challenge of all, managing your mind. Let me show you how the inner critic actually operates. Picture a leader preparing for a performance review with their boss. The meeting's scheduled for Friday, it's now Monday. Here's what happens in their mind over the next 4 days. On Monday, I wonder what they want to talk about. They said touch base on some things. That sounds ominous. Tuesday, they probably noticed I've been struggling with the new system implementation. Everyone else figured it out faster than me. Wednesday, what if they're putting me on a performance improvement plan? What if they're documenting issues to build a case for letting me go? Thursday, I can't sleep. I've been reviewing everything I've done wrong this quarter. There's so much. How did I miss these things? Friday morning, they walk into that meeting feeling defeated, defensive, and convinced their job is at risk. The boss's actual agenda, a routine check-in about next quarter's priorities and asking if they'd like to take on a stretch project. This leader spent 5 days in psychological torment because they believe their inner critic without question. Here's what makes the inner critic so dangerous. It specializes in worst case scenarios presented as inevitable outcomes. It doesn't say you might struggle with this. It says you will fail. It doesn't say this is challenging. It says you're not capable. It doesn't offer perspective. It offers prosecution. And because it lives inside your own head, it sounds like you. So you trust it. Here's the insight that changes the game. Your inner critic is not an oracle. It's an overprotective bodyguard with terrible judgment. Imagine hiring a bodyguard whose job is to keep you safe. But this bodyguard is incredibly paranoid. They see every new person as a potential threat, every opportunity as a potential trap, every challenge as a potential danger. So they give you constant warnings. Don't go to that networking event. You'll say something stupid. Don't volunteer for that project. You'll fail and everyone will see. Don't speak up in that meeting. Your idea probably isn't good enough. Your inner critic is doing the same thing. It's trying to protect you from rejection, from failure, and from embarrassment. But it's so risk averse that it would rather keep you small and safe than allow you to grow and thrive. This connects directly to the Know Your Worth pillar of my framework for connected leadership. When you know your worth is intrinsic, you can hear your inner critic's warnings without obeying them. You can say, thank you for trying to protect me, but I'm actually not in danger. I'm in an opportunity. But when you don't know your worth, when you believe your value is determined by your performance, every criticism of your inner voice feels like the devastating truth rather than an anxious opinion. Let me show you exactly how to apply receive, perceive, respond to your inner critic. You're preparing to pitch a new initiative to leadership. Your inner critic is in full force. The critical voice says this idea isn't fully developed. You're going to look foolish. They're going to ask questions that you can't answer. You should wait until you have more data. Old pattern, you believe this voice. You postpone the pitch and you spend another month preparing, which is actually avoidance. The RPR method, you receive the critical voice. I'm receiving the thought. This isn't ready. You'll look foolish. I'm noticing my chest feels really tight and my breathing is shallow. There's an urge to call my boss and reschedule. Here's what's crucial. You're not arguing with the voice yet. You're not trying to shut it down. You're just observing it like you observe a car driving past your window. It's present, but it's not you. Perceive the pattern and purpose. I'm perceiving this as my brain's risk avoidance pattern. This voice shows up every time I'm about to be visible, and it says the same thing every time. Not ready, need more prep, avoid embarrassment. I'm also perceiving that this voice has been wrong before. It told me not to apply for my current role. It told me not to present at the conference. Both of those turned out well. What if this voice isn't sharing the truth? What if it's just sharing fear dressed up as prudence? Respond with intentional choice. I'm responding by moving forward with the pitch, not because I feel confident, but because I choose to trust my worth over my fear. I know I'm going to prepare appropriately, and I'll accept that good enough is sufficient for a first pitch. You notice the power shift? You're not at the mercy of your inner critic. You're in conversation with it. You're the leader of your own mind. Here's a powerful tool for the perceive phase. Talk to your inner critic like a fact checker talks to a politician. When your inner critic says you'll always mess up under pressure, you respond, always? Let's check that claim. What about the Q3 presentation when the projector failed and I pivoted smoothly? What about the client crisis I handled last month? Always is provably false. When it says nobody respects your leadership, you respond, nobody? I have 3 pieces of positive feedback from this week alone right here in my phone. Let me go look at it. Your inner critic trains in absolutes and catastrophes. You combat it with specific documented evidence. Your practice for this episode is the morning dialogue. Set a timer for 2 minutes. Write down what your inner critic is saying about your day ahead. Then write one response. Thank you for your input. Here's what I'm choosing instead. The real-time RPR is when you catch your inner critic mid-attack pause. Literally say out loud, even if you're alone, I'm receiving this thought. I'm perceiving it as fear, not fact. I'm responding by, and then name what you'll do. Evidence file. Take screenshots of every positive email, message, or feedback this week. Save them in a folder called data. When your inner critic speaks, check your data. Your inner critic will never go silent. That's not the goal. The goal is to change your relationship with it, to move from automatic obedience to conscious evaluation, to hear its warnings without letting them dictate your decisions. Truth is, that voice that questions your competence is not the voice of wisdom, it's the voice of fear, and you don't have to let fear lead. Drop a comment. What does your inner critic say most often? Let's expose these lies to the light. The more we share them, the less power they have. If this gave you a tool you'll actually use, save this video. Next episode, we're tackling the perfectionist trap. Why good enough is actually better than perfect. See you then.